For more on that, I'm now joined by Masood Haider, a journalist and political expert in New York. Mr. Haider, thank you for joining us. It seems the cross-border chasing of militants across the border has become a trend. First Turkey and now Afghanistan. Wouldn't that constitute a breach of national sovereignty?
Yes, of course it will constitute a breach of national sovereignty. There's no doubt about that if Afghanistan was to carry out this threat. But I would like to remind you that there's a lot of posturing going on at this point in time in Afghanistan, and what President Karzai has said and what Prime Minister of Pakistan has said. The reason being simply that when over the weekend, just on Monday, last Monday, when the United States attacked these posts within Pakistan, in Waziristan area, Pakistan protested very strongly. And most people in Pakistan believe now that Mr. Karzai coming up with this strong statement saying that he would pursue anybody attacking Afghanistan from inside Pakistan is basically said that it's like a tit for tat, and that he's responding to what he's been told to do. So that's where it stands now.
But Mr. Haider, there's a growing body of evidence that Taliban are actually using bases in Pakistan to launch cross-border raids into Afghanistan. And Pakistan is perhaps too busy with its internal politics to worry about it?
Basically, you can say that Pakistan is busy not only with the internal politics, also, there is one other possibility that they were trying to broker some sort of a peace agreement in order to stop all these attacks which were going on within Pakistan. If you remember, before the election, there were like so many suicide attacks, including assassination of Benazir Bhutto, that Pakistan was reeling under that, and they were making this some sort of an agreement with them. So that is absolutely one possibility which cannot be ruled out. But the fact is, there has to be some sort of a cooperation between the United States and Pakistan and Afghanistan. If they're going to go on this course of confrontation, I don't think it's going to help anybody.
That's right. Now let's turn to domestic Pakistan politics. Has President Musharraf's position in any way been compromised by the opposition's so-called Long March?
Oh, absolutely, it has been compromised. It has actually, I think it is very, very ominous what happened. Immediately after the Long March, Mr. Masood Haider, who was only paying lip service to the lawyers' movement, and suddenly his eyes have been opened. Actually, he was not on board for having this long march, but when this long march continued, and even PPP people participated in it, so his eyes were opened. And now Nawaz Sharif, who was supposed to be the younger brother in the so-called coalition, has gained momentum and has become number one. And Masood Haider has lost credibility in the masses of Pakistan. So he has to regain that credibility, and he has, of course, now come back with statements saying that he will make sure that Musharraf is gone and that judges are he's going to revisit this judges issue, and I think basically it has been an eye-opener. And for Musharraf, the time is the time clock is now starting to tick in the real sense, because not only will the Pakistani political leadership wants to oust him, they even are now trying to try him, and that is not going to be too good for either Musharraf or
Mr. Haider,
I also believe very divisive for Pakistan.
Turning into the issue of a possible trial for President Musharraf. The former Pakistani Prime Minister, we all know, Mr. Nawaz Sharif, has called for President Musharraf to be put on trial for his so-called crimes, and he has said that this is not enough for the Pakistani nation. Is that just political maneuvering, or is there any legal basis for Mr. Musharraf to be tried once he steps down?
Well, actually, if you were to look at it strictly, Mr. Musharraf can be tried for treason under the Pakistani constitutional law. With anybody who violates the constitution, and if it is proven that he has violated the constitution, he can be prosecuted and hanged according to the constitution. Now, this will put the Pakistani armed forces pit Pakistani armed forces against the political administration. And that is what is not desirable. That I think Mr. Zardari would try to avoid. Mr. Nawaz Sharif, as far as he's concerned, after being stung by Mr. Musharraf throwing him out of power in 1999, he is taking a strong stance that he wants. He said, since one political prime minister was killed by the army, why can't we make it a case now that an army general who violates the constitution can also be put to death?
Very well. Masood Haider, journalist and political expert in New York. Thanks for appearing on the show.